Welcome everybody to our presentation for Diversity Dialogues, part of the Black History Month celebration with Edinburgh University, California University, and Clarion University. I'm happy to welcome everybody to our Black History Month presentation with Danielle and Roland Slade. Our presentation for Diversity Dialogues, part of the... Sorry about that. We have Danielle and Roland Slade and moderator Autumn Parker. The Slade's artwork, Texture Evolution, is on view at Edinburgh University's fabulous Bruce Gallery, which is located in Doucette Hall through February 4th. The Slade's own and operate So Fancy Hair Salon, which is located in Erie, Pennsylvania, just about a 15-20 minute drive from Edinburgh's campus. Danielle is a master stylist and educator. Roland is a full-time safety specialist, as well as an educator, cultural critic, and video collage artist. Autumn Parker is a full-time career advisor at Allegheny College, which is a 20-25 minute drive south of Edinburgh. She is known in Erie as an influential community activist, but she prefers the title of community protagonist, and I'm sure you'll find out why as she moderates our discussion with Danielle and Roland Slade. Stay tuned to watch Autumn in action as she moderates tonight's conversation. And then we will begin the conversation with Danielle and Roland going over their little presentation, and then Autumn will begin a conversation with the artists. So without further ado, I welcome Roland, and he's going to begin his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Give us a couple of seconds here to share our screen, and then without further ado, you will hear Danielle. Can we confirm you can see my screen?
I think, yeah, there you go. We are all set.
And there you go. No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm so excited to be here. This is just such an amazing opportunity. So I'll just introduce myself. I am Danielle Slade, hair artist, educator, salon owner, natural hair expert. I'm a healthy hair advocate, and I'm also an author. And just a little about myself, for those that may or may not know me, I started learning how to do hair at about 7 years old from watching my mother do hair. And then I started practicing on my baby dolls and my 3 younger sisters. I continued to do hair throughout my teenage years and was even accepted into a cosmetology vocational program in high school. Now, after the first year, I dropped out of the program because I really wasn't learning anything about Black hair. There was just like a very small chapter in the textbook about Afro hair, quotation marks, and it all just kind of felt like a waste of time. So I dropped out, and I was a beauty school dropout. So after high school, I did attend college, and I worked in corporate for over 10 years. But my love of hair and all things beauty just never stopped. It was always just deeply embedded into my heart and my soul. So in 2011, I returned to cosmetology school and obtained my license, my cosmetology license, and my master educator license later in 2013. Okay, there we go. All righty. What's a presentation without a little techie difficulties? Okay, perfect. So I relocated from Pittsburgh to Erie, Pennsylvania in August of 2012. And after a few years of being a hairstylist, I wanted to open up my own hair salon. So I began planning exactly how the salon would look, feel, and even smell. I shared my vision with Roland, and we later opened So Fancy Hair Salon in April of 2015. My mission was to provide a safe and relaxing environment for those with curly and textured hair to come and be pampered, receive education on healthy hair care and at-home maintenance. Oh, wrong one. There it is. Okay, perfect. During this, I'm sorry, the natural hair movement began in the late 2010s. And there was, oh, okay, perfect. The natural hair movement began in the late 2010s, and there was this explosion of women that wanted to stop using chemical straighteners and even relaxers. During this revolution, there was some pushback from corporate America as more women chose to wear their natural curly hair textures. It was deemed to be unprofessional or even unkept to wear your natural hair. I understood this plight of my clients because during my time in corporate America, my hair was also chemically straightened. I had to maintain a specific image to represent the company and even be considered for job promotions. Even wearing a braided hairstyle came with this like level of anxiety because I had to prepare myself mentally the night before just for the stares and uncomfortable questions that would follow the next day at work. So when a woman sat in my styling chair, it wasn't just about providing a hairstyle. It was an opportunity to be vulnerable, to escape the societal normalities, to cry and embark on this new journey. It was freedom. I truly enjoy this process of coaching others about transitioning from a relaxer or chemically straightened hair, about hair loss, hair growth, and ultimately achieving healthy hair care. I offer chemical alternatives such as blowouts that temporarily straightens the hair without the commitment of the chemicals. This has helped so many women embrace their natural curl textures, finding styles that complement their personality and lifestyle. This brings us to the Erie Crown. The Erie Crown Project would generate local pride of Black women and their families and would educate non-Black communities on the variety and beauty of Black hair. If this project is not pursued, the default focus on white hair as the standard of beauty will remain unchanged. I want women to know that wearing braids and locks and twists are more than just a protective style. It's an expression of artistry. And as you see, this texture evolution, our vision is that as we step towards bringing our Erie Crown project to the public, we created Texture Evolution for the Bruce Gallery Line Show on view through February 4th of 2022. Thank you.
So while that concludes this presentation that we gave you guys, I wanted to segue into a little bit of, what it is that I do. Now, this is a collaborative effort with me and Danielle, where, of course, she provided the beautiful hairstyles and color. And what I did is I gave us an up close look at the different lines that that was brought to you. Now we can segue a little bit into my work, which is a little bit more controversial, I guess you would call it. So if there's any, we don't want to play that yet. So if there's any children, as you can see, now these are clips from movies. So it's not something that you probably haven't already seen, but the language is definitely aggressive. There are some curse words and some offensive words. So if this portion, it's 2 minutes and 32 seconds. If you wanted to mute your audio until it's finished, you can do so at this time.
Did you see any white people in there waiting an hour and 32 minutes for a plate of spaghetti? Huh? And how many cups of coffee did we get?
You don't drink coffee, and I didn't want any.
Just leave it.
PJ, thank God you're here. How'd you find? It's the only chicken and waffle place in all of home. This is the only dining hall that you can actually get yourself some chicken
I ain't did nothing wrong. You racial profiling me.
As the owner, I reserve the right to dismiss you from the premises.
I was harassed as a black man.
So a black man's got to be at a chicken and waffles place.
You too black to profile another black person.
That's racist.
Look at me and look at you. So if I think I see a gun, I don't hesitate. I shoot. Drugs or weapons on you? No. I was a black man. A dangerous black man.
He fit the description of a carjacker we've been looking for.
Man, that woman in there poured cup after cup to every single white person around us. But did she even ask you if you wanted any? You are black as fuck. All you people see is color.
Please go. I don't have any problems with.
You didn't get any coffee that you didn't want and I didn't order. And that's evidence of racial discrimination. Did you notice that our waitress was black?
Thank you, tough. See, a threat. And black women don't think in stereotypes? Yeah, I like that. You tell me something, man. When was the last time you met one who didn't think she knew everything about your little lazy ass before you even opened your mouth? Huh? That's why I took this job. I hate motherfuckers like you. That waitress sized us up in 2 seconds. We're black and black people don't tip. So she wasn't gonna waste her time? Now somebody like that, nothing you can do to change their mind.
A lot of gangs congregate in this area. Are you in one?
Take your time. Why are you pointing your gun at me, officer? Blow your head off with this influence and you couldn't do shit.
Look, the owner straight profile us, okay? We didn't do nothing wrong.
I've done absolutely nothing wrong. Roland 60s, huh?
Your kid
We gonna watch your tone.
was in the wrong part of town.
One more time. Where's your ID?
Have a nice evening.
And that is the presentation. I guess I'm
Wow.
passing it to you, Autumn.
Yes, you are. You're passing it to the protagonist, which I have essentially been preempted to explain upon. But I really just want to take a moment to show gratitude to Danielle and Roland for taking time and energy out of their day to empower us with some local resources that we can get excited about investing our own time and energy and financial resources so that we can help sustain this space of freedom, as Danielle had emphasized throughout her presentation, in which Roland has partnered with her in creating a space for. So again, everyone, my name is Autumn Parker, and as Chris introduced me earlier, I'm a career advisor at Allegheny College and a community protagonist, as I prefer to be called. Mainly just to give you some quick insight to that, usually when we think of protagonists in a literary term, we think of them as the main character or the champion of a cause, and that is not what I'm alluding to at all. I am just one of many individuals who are actively pursuing spaces for us to not only have these conversations, but to follow up with action steps so that we can pass the torch to the next generation to, create more of these informative and these freeing spaces to inform us of ways that we can better our society, but hopefully lessen that burden. And really, I see protagonist as a supporter in the sense of advancing someone else's cause as well. So I'm really excited that I get to support Danielle and Roland and advancing what they have taken much of their own personal resources, I'm sure, right, Danielle? Cultivating this, yeah, they're nodding their head, and cultivating this space for freedom. So, you all have left us, I'm sure, reeling with a ton of questions and insights to your presentation, but I really want to start upon how, Danielle, you began this presentation giving us a backstory to how you got involved in becoming a lover of hair, of texture, of curls, and how your family was a big significant part of that, but also particularly you talking about how you practice on your dolls. And that immediately brought me back to my own childhood, but thinking of how a lot of my dolls represented the white Eurocentric standard of beauty. And so when I did see a Black doll, for instance, or any doll of color that represented me, I was detached in a sense. I couldn't necessarily make that connection just yet. And so I wonder if you experienced that yourself when practicing on your dolls, or did you kind of contemplate, how does my identity translate to who it is that I'm practicing on and the greater world around me in that context?
Absolutely, Autumn. It's very nostalgic when you start to, think about childhood and just those experiences. And when you're a child, I would say when I was a child during that time, I really didn't understand that there was this difference in myself and these baby dolls, so to speak. And I remember when I did receive my very first, I would say, colored doll. I believe it was a My Child. It was called My Child. And it was it wasn't more of like the smooth skin. It actually had like a textured fabric that was wrapped around the doll. And the doll had like straight hair, but the tone was more tan. So it did closely match mine at that time. And I can just remember how much that just kind of became my favorite doll. I loved to play with that doll. And as far as styling the dolls, I guess at that time, being like 7 and 8, I knew that there was a difference in styling their hair. And I think I enjoyed it because it was so different than the experience of getting my own hair done with the kinks and the curls, and just that struggle of going through getting my own hair shampooed and conditioned and braided, or even straightened with a hot comb. So to me, it was almost kind of exciting to do this doll that had straighter hair, that I didn't have to put in as much work into it. So but most of it was cutting. I would just take the dolls and, sneak and get my mom's sewing scissors and just cut their hair. So I got in trouble a lot because I was like really destroying these dolls' hair.
Listen, I can relate to that because my mama would pop up in my room. She's like, I just thought this doll, cut off half her head. And
Yes.
like, well, we're supposed to be using this as an opportunity to explore. And that's what I really hear you, emphasizing throughout your nostalgic experience, is this freedom to explore the different ways in which hair can be styled and celebrated. And, quite frankly, I think this does translate to another point of conversation I would like to touch upon. So Tiffany M. Gill, who is an African-American historian, particularly of 20th century, said that Black industry, the beauty industry, played a crucial role in the creation of the modern Black female identity, and that the seemingly frivolous space of a beauty salon actually has stimulated social, political, and economic change. And, thus African-American beauty entrepreneurs such as yourself have built and sustained a vibrant culture of activism in beauty salons and schools. And so, your activist piece translated to you even being simply intentional about not just the feel and the look, but even the smell of your space. And so I want you to dive a little deeper with us and tell us about your thinking process when you were cultivating this environment and knowing that it would have a real macro impact, not just micro and meso in our small community, but challenging people to think about what their experiences have looked like on a grand scale that has led them into this space, and to trust you with not only just styling their hair, but allowing them to fully express themselves through that process.
So when I decided to come back into the industry, I should say, because I did spend some time in corporate America, so much had changed. I grew up basically during the 90s, and during that time, for me, hair salons and barbershop, they were the staples in our community. It was just, you just felt home. It was just a part of your monthly routine, or if sometimes every 2 weeks you would find yourself at your local hair salon or barbershop. And there was just so much that you could learn. I mean, it was a place to fellowship. It was a place to learn from other people, to meet new people, and to have your hairstyle. And you just felt amazing, when you left out. And when I returned to the industry, I noticed that there was just something missing. Something was missing from, just kind of what made the beauty salons what they were. And this is just across the country with with YouTube, and, a lot of people just kind of finding themselves trying to work it out on their own, do their own hair at home, and just really struggling. So when I had this vision, I really wanted to give women and even young girls just this, a place where they can come and just really feel safe. And I know for me, I grew up, with my mom, hot combing my hair. And that was something that was almost like it can be a nightmare for some people when they think back to childhood and think about, major holidays or even back to school. That was almost a ritual in your home to have your hair hot combed. And for those that may not understand what that is, but it's like a metal comb that's placed on a stove until it's hot, and then it's then used on your hair to loosen and straighten curly and tight textures. And that could be very traumatizing for a lot of women. And so I didn't want my salon to have that kind of effect on people. So when I say even the smell, I wanted it to smell fresh. I wanted it to smell friendly. I didn't want people to come in and smell like burnt hair or just anything that would kind of trigger those childhood nightmares of, receiving those services. And what's awesome is that I actually had an opportunity to meet Miss Tiffany Gill, and I read her book. I believe it's Beauty Politics. Forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but it was a phenomenal opportunity because what she did for me was that she really opened up this view of the past, because it is, this stigma with Black hair stylists and hair salons that we just do hair. We just style hair, and there's not a whole lot that's involved, and we don't make a big impact on the community. And that is so untrue. And what she did for me in her book was to help me to understand the role that the hair salon and the beauty salons, and the barbershops played even in politics, and how just a lot of the activism, the movements that were done back, years ago, a lot of them started right there in the beauty salon. So that was it was such an enlightening experience for me. And it really helped me to see even more value in what I bring to the community and to my clients and even my own employees. And that's ultimately what I wanted to do, was just really help those that felt lost, that felt didn't feel attractive, that just, didn't feel that they held up to this societal standard of beauty. And I had to be honest during this time, because I also, I received my first hair relaxer. Some people call them perms, but the technical term is relaxer, is when you chemically alter curly hair, you straighten the hair with a chemical. I received my first one at 5. So that was just a part of my life. Curly hair, natural hair really wasn't embraced in my home. It really wasn't embraced in my community. My mom had a completely different texture of hair than I did, and she was overwhelmed. There wasn't a lot of education on how to handle our textures of hair, which I later found out when I went, through the high school Vo-Tech program. So I wanted to make it my mission to really get as much education as I could, whether it's hands-on, independent study, and even I would pay and travel for classes so that I could bring that experience here and help the moms that have multi-textured children, multicultural children that have hair that's completely different from theirs. I wanted to help even, older women who, have been in the workplace and they've received these promotions, they're in executive positions, and now they want to embrace their natural styles. But they had to learn how to first embrace it themselves and to become comfortable and confident with their own natural hair texture. And I just really wanted to be a part of that. And I first had to do that within myself. I had to be honest, because like I said, when I was in corporate, I was not as comfortable wearing natural styles. My hair was relaxed, it was straight. And it, that's how I felt comfortable. That's how I felt confident. And I felt accepted in my workplace. So I understood that plight of my clients. And so I wanted to really help them to not only break through those barriers, but to do it comfortably and confidently.
Listen, we're going to dive deeper into that, because you are really hitting on what I think you're alluding to in the background of my poster that says, "Come as you are." And so when we in this space, y'all, we don't do safe spaces. We do brave space in the sense of it takes courage to own your truth, as ugly as it may seem sometimes. But more than likely, you'll find that we share across these lines then we do differ. And so Danielle, you really touching on how you had to check in within yourself first and understand, symbolize that internalized racism. Let's be honest, a lot of this conversation deals with the fact that we have lived in a Eurocentric Western society founded in the marginalization of people of color. And within that has influenced our everyday functionalities and access to our basic needs, such as proper hair care. And then within that process, setting the standard of what, proper haircut actually means, right? And looks like. And so when you were thinking or talking about your corporate experience, that immediately took me back to my own early career and even prior beyond that in college, where I was surrounded around more Black women who were embracing their natural hair, but we were all terrified in that process. Because listen, we were terrified,
Scary.
especially because in Meadville, we were like, who's going to touch our scalp and want to at that, So, within those conversations and so forth, we really had to take a step back and be like, where is this fear coming from? And part of the fear was simply because we didn't feel educated about our own selves. And a part of that was a sense of shame almost, right? And in owning that though, we were like, okay, here's our truth. What can we do about it in this community? Who can we reach out to? How can we capitalize on our networks to help us feel more informed and to help us feel empowered about our being and to see ourselves as evolutionary beings at that, who are versatile and adaptable? And that's what I think of when I think of texture and coils and that kinkiness, in a sense of that it is just full of life and vitality, and you can do so many different things. And so when you are considering some of those engagements with your clients who share in that sense of fear or shame, what do you often hear them saying? What are some of that feedback?
My hair is ugly. I feel ugly. I don't like the way I look with my natural hair. I think it almost, takes them back to those college days or even early childhood days where they, especially if they were in an area or a school that was predominantly, white or didn't really have a lot of diversity, it kind of brings back that old feeling of fear and even being afraid of just being who they are. And I think that one thing that I'm learning, over the years is that I'm not alone in my own struggle, is that there's so many, women across the country, Black and minority women who share the same feelings, that have had a lot of the same shared experiences where you just did not feel that you were beautiful because of the hair that was growing out of your scalp. And so we tried to do whatever we could to make ourselves feel beautiful, whether it's, wear extensions, or like I said, we straightened our hair, we chemically straightened our hair, anything that we could to try to fit into what that beauty standard was, right? Wigs. And, even, now it's a lot more common to see women of color, to see women in their natural textures, big afros and curls, and even the children in movies and in the commercials. It's a lot more common now, but that was not the standard, even just 15 years ago, it wasn't often that you would see that. So not being able to really have an opportunity to see yourself in a positive image on camera, on commercials, even newscasts. There was, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and I can't really remember too many women of color that were on television. And if they were, their hair was also straightened. It was not in a natural state. So there's a lot of barriers that have to be broken and have to be, kind of just bust open, so that way they can start to find themselves and love on themselves in this process, because it's definitely a process. It's a journey.
It absolutely is. And thinking about your respective journey, especially, you had Roland, who was a committed, dedicated partner, I'm assuming, to helping you see this vision through. And so, Roland, I want to bring you into the conversation and just ask, what were some of your concerns, going into this process with Danielle given that even though this movement is going on a decade, if not a little bit over, and people have become more celebratory and embracing of textures and coils, we're still seeing some of that economic and social cultural flack for choosing this journey. And so did you have any concerns with Danielle choosing this route? Did you think, oh, this is going to be difficult getting a jump start, particularly with Erie, or were you hopeful?
Well, it's funny because I actually was raised around hairstylists. So I had firsthand knowledge around, my dad dated a hairstylist. I was often in the salon, almost being babysat, so to speak. So being around stylists helped a lot. Also, I'm from the school of thought that if let's say my wife's passion was cupcakes, we would be doing the same thing just with cupcakes. I'm all for supporting my wife, my life partner, in whatever it is that she wants to do. I think that this took on a unique path though, because it's something that's so attached to us and our Blackness. I'm a guy who has always been a rebel rouser, so to speak. You know, that's why I've taken on the moniker cultural critic. And even when we first met, when, you know, we were just talking about this, her hair was relaxed and straight, and it was a beautiful style, and I loved it. But I think she keeps saying, I bet her that she couldn't grow her hair out. And I said nothing of the sort.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for my $50. I want to put this
on my tea. I know
I'm still waiting. We bet $50 my hair would not grow past a certain length. I'm still waiting.
And what was that? Was that 12 years ago?
Almost 13 now.
13, yeah. I think she went natural and grew this lion's mane all the way down her back. And I was astounded. So as she transitioned into helping, as we opened the salon, as you said, and transitioned into helping these beautiful ladies embrace their hair, I'm all for it. Even as I dated back in the day, not that I ever allowed myself to tell a woman what to do with her hair, I would often compliment, my date, say, "Oh, I really like your hair when it's like that," and it would normally be in its natural state. Even my wife's hair, she has coils, and I often say, "Do you want to lock it up?" So, and it's not like I'm trying to get back to Mother Africa or nothing. It's just that I say, embrace your personality, embrace your natural hair. So this journey, I was all for it. And one of the things that she always forgets to mention, and she touched on it earlier, was multicultural young ladies. And we could been talking about the women and the beauty and this and that, but let's not forget, we have a lot of children who come through our salon, a lot of preteens and teens who are, we wouldn't even have enough time to dive into the struggle that these little girls are having, because normally their mother is of Caucasian and then their father is Black. And a lot of time, as you say, babe, the daughters take after the fathers, but that rough texture. So she's battling, and the white women have no clue how to deal with this texture of hair, and they plop them down. In one of our love stories, so to speak, is a little girl named Becca, and she was what?
I think two
2 years old when she came to us, and now she's 6.
I think she's in second grade.
Yeah,
now.
Second grade. Yeah. So we embrace those stories, and we love to help young ladies even more understand their identity. So if you ask me, I'm somewhat cut from a different cloth. I love the fact that she's doing this work. As you can see, it's Danielle and Roland. I'm sitting to her right hand. I always want to support her in helping other young ladies feel beautiful, because it's so much. And even with our Erie Crown project that we had to bring to the Lion Show, it was a huge disappointment that we couldn't get the funding that we wanted to bring Erie Crown to the city, because as she spoke about just a few seconds ago, how now it's more prevalent. As you can see, is narratives in media shape our ideas of what we are.
Right.
You young girls struggled coming up because you didn't have the doll that you needed to make yourself feel better. I have a granddaughter who, you know, almost looks like me. She's a product of my son and a black woman, and she's the cutest little black, dark-skinned black girl
She's
with
beautiful.
yes, with dark with texture hair. And I made sure that I purchased baby dolls and sent them, you know, to her city so she can have those in hand.
Coloring books too.
Yeah, color. Oh yeah, and she's an artist as well. She draws. She's very young, and she has a nice pen herself. And I sent her books teaching her how to draw ethnic faces and stuff like that,
right,
to cultivate that gift, because I know my medium now is video. And we're coming up on 15 minutes, but I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna give it back to Danielle. But I'm also an artist. I drew all throughout high school, and I'm a product of a lot of the younger Edinboro students might not know what this is, but I'm a product of the Governor's School for the Arts. I got accepted to go to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania when I was in 11th grade to study art with a bunch of other art students in fine arts, in theater, in dance, and in music. And there was a band of us that kind of got close, and we were definitely a minority on campus. But we flourished because we had each other. So there's power in numbers. And when you see something or see someone that looks like you, it empowers you to stand in your truth, as you spoke of. It's hard to stand in your truth when you're not seeing images that positive images that reflect who you are.
Awesome. Add in, okay. I just, you know, when Roland mentioned our little Becca, I just get really excited, because not that every client that comes through our doors is not like a VIP, but Becca is such a special case, because when her mom found me, she was so small, and I normally don't take children that young. She was like 2 years old, but the mom had such a hard, and the mom is Caucasian, and she had such a hard time finding a stylist that would take the time to really work with you know, her daughter. And so when she found me, you know, she just had this little cute little afro, and she, you know, everyone that she had taken her to would always just cut her hair. They would just cut it into a fro. And so when she first came, for a few years, we couldn't even put a cape on her, because anytime a cape was put on her, it reminded her of getting her hair cut, and she didn't want to get her hair cut. So, you know, it wasn't just about hairstyling. You know, and that's what I spoke about my presentation. It was this journey that I was able to embrace, even, you know, for myself, to take Becca and her mom on along the way. And what I love about this particular client is that her mom really took time to learn. I mean, we were very hands-on. I mean, I would show her mom what products to use, how to style her hair, how we shampoo, how we deep condition, how we detangle. And to see them now, I mean, it's just phenomenal to see how far that they've come, that her mom wanted to share in that journey. She didn't just, you know, drop her off to, you know, that's wrong. I'm not against that. But I could just tell that there was such a passion in her mom to want to be able to share in this journey with her daughter. And they, you know, they have done so well. And I mean, now she's experimenting with haircuts and all kind of different styles. And I just love that, you know, there are moms out there that are willing to put in the work, because it is work.
She moved away too.
Yeah, they moved. They were overseas for a few years, and they were staying in contact, as Roland mentioned, but at that time, her mom was so comfortable, and she felt so much more confident about taking on the role of being her daughter's stylist. So that was, you know, I love when he brings that up, because sometimes I forget. I have so many people I talk to, but that's just, you know, an opportunity I wanted to share, to show that it's not just about hairstyling or just the artistry behind it, but it is an opportunity to just really make an impact in a young girl's life, you know, or any woman's life. So I just wanted to share that.
No, and I'm glad you did. And honestly, I think that it's a beautiful sentiment to how this is not just a one-stop shop necessarily. this is it's not. It's an invitation to have people see this as a communal space,
Yes.
to not see it as what I would argue a simple step at representation, but sustaining that as an evolutionary journey to continue building upon one sense of self and value. And when I hear you talk about that little girl, Becca, I can see the smile, the light in both of y'all's faces, and the joy you have, to see her blossom and to embrace all that she can become, not just in the moment, but thinking of her future self. Right? Children are observational. They're not stupid.
They watch everything, good and bad.
Good and bad. Emphasis on the bad.
She could have been damaged for the rest of her life. We could be dealing with a 25-year-old young lady traumatized from 2 years old, not being able to go. I mean, we deal with women in their 60s who they haven't been to a salon in 20 years and come to us. We've had to make special provision. Can't have nobody in the salon when this woman takes her wig off because she's that embarrassed.
There was a woman who, just to add that in there, there's a woman who was getting married. This was a few years ago, I would say pre-COVID, and she wanted to come in for an appointment. She was trying to communicate through a regular client that I had, and she was getting married, and her husband was Caucasian, and I think they dated for 3 to 4 years, and he had never seen her real hair. He only seen her with a wig on. And so when, we were talking, because we spoke a few times, and, I kept telling her, just come, let's just at least try something. But she was so afraid. And he was even, willing to, just see her. He wanted to see her in her real natural self. I think he was just tired of the wigs, to be honest. He wanted to see what he was marrying, but she was just so afraid of removing that mask almost. It's almost like a mask that you wear. And, COVID happened and I haven't been in touch with her, but I really hope that she was able to finally just take that mask off and say, here's who I am, and just allow him to love on her, her whole self, the entire person.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think that too, I'm not trying to backtrack. Don't worry, y'all. We are mindful of time. But a lot of this conversation, again, emphasizes the internalized trauma that our community is still working through. And Roland, your video collage, I definitely think emphasized how this is not necessarily just a Black and white conversation.
No.
It's just enough color conversation as well, where we need to, as we've emphasized throughout, own our truth and own how it has impacted the way in which we move, not only in relation to ourselves, but how we interact with each other.
Yes.
And how we trust each other to either uplift us or how we expect each other to tear us down. And so, Roland, I've seen that video a ton of times, and it still triggers me. I catch a whole attitude. I want to be flipping tables, call Jesus. I don't know. But, but, that video collage, what are some of the points that you want to emphasize, either in relation to this conversation or just in general, about how the Black lived experience is still being digested and processed within our own community?
It's a 2-level fight, and I'm gonna definitely bring it to the hair, because here's the hit, right? What you've seen in the video collage was racial profiling. It didn't say white people racial profiling. It didn't say Asian people racial profiling. It just said racial profiling, right? So as a Black person, we get racially profiled, of course, by the white lackey power structure, right? People in authority and whatnot, right? But we get profiled by our own people. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's almost like, and I'm gonna say a phrase that may sting a little bit, that may have been overused, but white supremacy, right? We have us who work more for white supremacy than the system, right? We police ourselves. Absolutely. So coming full circle, and I'm gonna steal your thought from our practice run on Monday, is when you wear a protective style, you know what I mean? Or you want to put your straight backs in, right? It's wintertime. You don't want to put a lot of stress on your hair, and you just put it in 2 color purple plaits, right? And you go outside, and who's the first person that's going to judge you? Mm-hmm. Old Black woman. Girl, what you doing out? in them plats. You know what I mean? So it's like we almost do more damage against our own than the system actually does. So coming full circle, it's good that these images are getting out there. They're starting to embrace even a platform such as Edinburgh is not afraid to show my piece. As you can see, that piece was in the Let's Pretend show. And it allows us to face these demons on both sides. On both sides, because like I said, we do a lot of this stuff to ourselves. It doesn't absolve the system from doing it to us, but man, can we heal ourselves? Can we stop doing it to ourselves? Can women stop judging other women for how they wear their hair, even if they do want to rock the wig? Well, that's a whole nother conversation.
Men can be very judgmental.
Yeah, we got 8 minutes.
Yeah, we got because when y'all were talking about, because what's funny is when y'all were talking about you guys being younger and y'all were talking about being in maybe a more predominantly white school, my heart actually sank because I said, wow, I wish we had time to even peel back how Black boys tease Black. I even was semi a part of that as a young person, 8 years old. And I had a good friend named Nicole. She wore a wig at like 8 years old because she had a short hair like mine and it wouldn't grow, or the mom couldn't take care of it. I'm not sure, but there was some older kids who came into our neighborhood and picked on her. They pushed her down, they took her wig, they threw it. And actually what's scary is they actually threw her and hit her in the face with a rock. And it actually, even as we got older, she still has that mark to this day on her bridge of her nose from when they broke her nose. Wow. And I never shared that with you, babe, but it pains me because, like I said, as a younger boy, I wasn't involved in the violence, but I was involved in the tease, and I was standing there. I wasn't old enough or had the braveness to stand on that. And like I said, this was my friend, this was my neighbor, her and her brother. And so, like I said, I've been a part of bullying from Black boys of Black girls. And that's why I embrace my granddaughter so much for that reason, because I don't want her to grow up in a world that she can't be who she is.
Absolutely.
I'm going to take a break. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Wow. That was the first time I even heard that story. So that's powerful.
It is powerful and it is heavy. And I think, Roland, you too are really emphasizing perhaps, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not just the physical violence. Being a bystander to these situations is in and of itself a form of violence, in my opinion, And so I think that's really a point that we should wrap up on, is that Black History Month is not necessarily a moment of celebration, but a movement of exploration and exploring and digesting our lived experiences as a people, as a community, and how it has again shaped our understanding of not just ourselves, but folks who look like us. And so I want to thank both of you for starting off this month with this charge. And it's a challenging one, but it's a vital one that empowers us to be the owners of our experiences and to not give that to somebody else to dictate the capacity of who we can be. And I think of little Becca, who's a testament to that. And so thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Roland, for sharing your truth. Thank you for the investment of your whole selves in this work, because I know that is an emotional and it is a mental journey. It's a physical, because Danielle, you be on your feet. I know you be on your feet. Listen, my thing about my hairstyle, I'm like, girl, you ain't tired. Your wrist ain't gonna fall off. I can't do this. No. So just thank you for all that you are and all that you will be continuing to do, not just for the Erie community, but for the greater community at hand, because these people that you are serving, they leave this space, right? And they leave with these stories and experiences, and you are influencing that so positively and beautifully. And Roland, I'm so grateful that you get to capture it as well and showcase it. And so with that, I encourage everyone to visit the Line Show before it closes. You can see the Slade's work in person, y'all, with the mask, at Edinburgh's Bruce Gallery through February 4th. of this year, and it is located again in the ground floor of Duchette Hall. It is open on Mondays through Fridays, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., 6 p.m., excuse me, by appointment with the gallery director, the Lisa Austin. She's absolutely phenomenal. You can contact her at L.Austin at edinburgh.edu. Again, that is L.Austin at edinburgh.edu. And again, I just thank you all for being present with us and investing your own evening activity to empowering yourself with more resources and information of how you can support these efforts. So I will toss it back over to Chris to wrap up, or maybe I'm the one wrapping up.
Thank you so much for moderating that. Yeah, we just want to remind people that you can check out the show in the Bruce Gallery. Thank you to Lisa Austin for organizing this, and thank you to Danielle and Roland for your part in this. A very, very great conversation. For all of our programming for Black History Month, you can visit our website, edinburgh.edu. We have a full list of events. So I want to thank you one more time to our presenters. And for those of you that either want to watch this again or you started halfway through, this video will be on our YouTube permanently. So it's if you're watching on YouTube, you know how to get there, but it's also Edinburgh or youtube.com/EdinburghU. So thank you once again, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you.